Hey folks, Anna Gosling here. I was asked to speak a little bit about planning for the engagement model, and more specifically, how to center a lesson around work time rather than around lecture. So for me, the key to planning my lessons around work time, it was to think of my lessons as either labs or practice sessions, and I would categorize them as one or the other. So when I say lab, I really mean some sort of a capstone project. So in a science class, which is what I teach, those are usually labs. But they can also take the form of something like a Socratic seminar, a research paper, and I think these are things that almost everybody does some kind of a capstone of some kind. The key for me, I think, was even more just reformulating my lectures as practice sessions. So instead of focusing on what's the information that I'm trying to get across, I tried to rethink all of my lessons in terms of the skills that I wanted my students to gain. So for a physics class, a practice session usually looks like doing practice problems. However, practice sessions are also really applicable to other subjects as well. So for example, a practice session in an English class might look something like practicing annotating a poem, or in a history class, it could look like making a timeline or looking at primary source documents. In a language class, it could look like having a conversation with a classmate in the language that you're learning. And for all those practice sessions, I have my students in breakout groups, so that way they are working together and they can learn from each other as well as having the chance to learn from me when they have questions. I found that breakout groups are essential to making practice sessions work because they help students use each other as resources in a way that I found they often don't if we're in a whole group setting. So I guess to summarize, for me the key to feeling comfortable with using the engagement model was trusting that my students would be able to learn through practice and trusting that I could give my students the practice they needed to learn.